Hello guys and welcome to our tutorial today on the cantilever. The cantilever is it's been a very heavily requested move that we teach. It always seems to get a good reception regardless of what rink we go to. It's one of my go-to moves that doesn't involve flips or groundwork or anything like that, purely because rinks don't usually object to it based on the fact that your blades are still on the floor. So actually it's a good one to pull out at most rinks. Even with slightly stricter rules. So without any further ado, let's get into it. So the first thing we're going to have to look at here is eagling, and we start by doing the gibbon, as you can see me doing here. It's almost like a sideways crossover. Now whilst this isn't going to be an in-depth tutorial on how to do the eagle, it does help, so I'm going to be doing a few step-by-steps on the build-up from eagling, but this is not an in-depth tutorial on the eagle. So as you can see here, we've slowed it down. The left foot, in my case, the back foot, is doing a lot of the stepping, and it kind of takes it in turns between the left and the right which steps out. So it is very much like a sideways crossover. So this isn't too difficult. Usually people can get used to this quite quickly. The harder part is to come when we ask you to do it in a straight line. Typically people have a problem keeping it in a straight line. It likes to kind of turn inwards. We combat this sort of, and the way I got around it was putting more weight on the back skate, which you'll see me do in a bit. So my weight is fairly even, but it is slightly towards the rear skate at this point. As you can see, we have it from a number of different angles. Once you've got the hang of doing it in a straight line, here comes the really tricky part. You're going to want to lean backwards and have it going in almost the opposite direction. So as you can see, my weight is heavily towards the back end of the skate, so it's towards the left leg, which is the leg that is trailing in this instance. So once you can do it confidently like this, you're ready to start breaking down for the cantilever. So as you can see, we've slowed it down, so you can see just where my weight is, and quite possibly a terrified expression on my face, because admittedly I've been doing the cantilever a lot, but it has been a long time since I've actually done this. So yeah, but hey, I didn't think it was too bad. So now here we have the first part of the cantilever. The first part is to get into the crouching position. It's almost like a squat. You have to get really, really low for this. The next part is putting the knees forward. So once you get low, you're going to want to push your knees forward towards the ground. Now you're going to turn inwards, but don't worry about it. This is natural. Just get used to doing this and getting into this position. Finally, you have the lean back. Now, it comes a point where you are inherently going to touch the floor, but this is a case of getting your balance points right. So don't worry about touching the floor for the first few times. So you're going to practice this repeatedly, and then it is kind of a trial and error thing. Each person has a different weight preference as to where they put it. You are probably going to end up touching your right hand quite a lot as you try and lean back. This is normal. Just keep practicing, keep with it, and you will have a sort of eureka moment as to when you kind of get the feel for it. As I say, I like to put the weight towards the rear skate, so in my case that's the left. Once you're leaning back, you'll kind of find a point where you can sit comfortably in this position. In regards to this, everyone makes the mistake, myself included when I was learning it, of putting the knees too close to the floor. When this happens, this doesn't actually help at all. You end up sliding on your boots. So knees go down a little bit, but not too much, and then you lean back. The further you put your knees forward, the further you have to lean back. So it's called the cantilever for a reason. Basically, it's levering against your knees to keep the balance points center over the skates. So with this in mind, good luck, keep practicing it, and everyone, if you have a go at it, let me know in the comments how you do. So hey guys, I hope you enjoyed that tutorial on the cantilever. Obviously we need your input, so the next kind of few tutorials we need to know what you guys want to do. For the next one, we have said that we are going to do a ground touch. So we'll do this from both stopping and from outside edge stopping. Well, no, we'll do it from hockey stopping, outside edge stopping, and we'll do it from cornering as well. Why not? We'll cover all the bases on general rules and principles of ground touches, because someone's asked about those, and it's pretty
pretty straightforward thing that so many people do actually struggle with. So to the person who asked us about that, don't feel bad about it. I did read your comment. I replied, I'm the one who does all that. So yeah, that's fine. Don't worry about it. It's a common thing that some people will struggle with. It's an easy fix. So let's not panic about that. We'll make a video and we'll work through that. Yeah, I hope you all found this somewhat helpful. This is a very unusual move. If you can learn it, there aren't a huge amount of people who do it out there. There are a good number of freestyle skaters in the UK, obviously, that can do it. Some figure skaters, what with it being originally a figure skating move, but there are so many skaters who don't do it, actually. If you go to London, a few of them do it there. Midlands, not so many people do it there. It's quite unusual. And obviously there'll be some people saying, "Oh, unusual, rare, what?" Let me quantify that. I mean that there's probably still probably about 200 people who do it, but it's not a common thing to have in the grand scheme of things in the UK. So it's definitely well worth looking at, because it's one of those moves that is always going to impress people. And even if people know what it is and have seen it, it's still impressive. So it's one that I always recommend learning, because it's such a great move. And don't use the excuse, this is such an easy trap to fall into. So many people will say, I'm not flexible enough, or I have a problem with my ankles. 9 times out of 10 when I hear I have a problem with my ankles, there is no problem with their ankles at all. It's simply a case of they don't want to try it, or potentially fall, or don't want to look a bit silly doing it. The fact of the matter is, you learn by falling. You learn by getting it wrong. So don't be afraid to get it wrong and have a go. Also, in regards to people who keep saying that they're not flexible enough, actually you require less flexibility for this than you'd have thought. As long as you have enough flexibility to do an eagle, which is something that if you want a tutorial on, let me know in the comments below and we'll build up to that. But if you're flexible enough to actually doing an eagle, you are easily flexible enough to do the cantilever. It's simple as that. It's not a move that requires huge amounts of flexibility, and even if you were lacking a little bit, you can still build it up. So those are just a few things to be aware of. So if you find yourself making excuses for it, tell yourself nonsense, and to have a go and to practice and to keep working hard at it. Remember, it's going to be hard. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But as I say, I wish you all the very, very best of luck with it, and I hope to see you very soon. Thank you.